Hello, and welcome to another episode of Conversation for the Curious Mind. This is a production of InSearch Innovation. My name is Ryan. I am your host, and my co-host, as always, Dr. Eddie Pierre. Hello, Eddie. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Ryan. How you doing? Good to be
Oh,
with you again.
I had a great day today in the gym. I had a good afternoon getting some things done. So it's a good day for me as well. Today, we're
That's
going to be
good.
covering a brand new topic. We just finished up with our Breathe. It was a 3-part series. Very good. I strongly recommend, if you haven't listened to it, check it out. Find that on our YouTube page, C4CM Pod at YouTube. Today, we're going to be covering sleep, something not enough of Americans do enough of, not enough people around the world do enough of. How do we want to start this, Eddie?
Well, the way we want to start this is to remind people that sleep is part of natural existence. And so sleep, it's equilibrate the time in which you are awakening. And so the number of time you awake should equalize the number of time you sleep. And of course, I'm talking from ancient time, but sleep, it's part of existence. It's part of, if you exist, you sleep. Every living organism sleep because it's part of natural law for existence. And so it's a very, very vital part of our existence. Sleep is one thing. If you don't do enough of it, will literally sabotage your entire existence. Everything you do, not just physical, mental, emotional, social, psychological, but it will mess everything up if you don't properly sleep. Of course, I know I live in a world that really not properly sleep, but it's vital part of our existence.
This is true. And one interesting thing about sleep, it's something that, unlike hunger, where you can be hunger and you can just not eat, no matter what, you will fall asleep. Your body will hit a point, and whether you try to resist it, you'll fall asleep driving. It happens all the time to people. People fall asleep in meetings. I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't give your body the rest it needs, your body will literally take the rest it needs from you, whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sleep, again, as I said, it's part of our natural existence. Lots of things going on for you to fall asleep. Of course, we usually don't pay attention to this fine detail, and not everybody uh, uh, either interested or equipped with all the physiological and psychological and neurological aspect of those part of our existence. But the body communicated with each other. There's 11 different function departments in the human body. There are different functions that are subfunctional, but there's 11 different functions. They're communicating with each other. You can bypass their function for, in other words, you can get 2, 3 hours of sleep, 2, 3 hours of sleep there, 2, 3 hours of sleep, and you think you're getting away with it. But what you do, you're accumulating a series of chemical. Eventually, when that chemical reaches a point, those department of the body will communicate with each other. And as you just mentioned, you'll fall asleep driving. You fall asleep sitting on a desk. You fall asleep in a large audience of people screaming, clapping. You'll be falling asleep because
Yeah.
all the departments just communicate with each other. They will shut down. That's what's taking place. Yes.
Yep.
And so sleep it's a very, very complex part of our existence.
Yeah, this is very true. And another thing to take into account as well is our body doesn't grow, doesn't heal. It doesn't produce a lot of the hormones that we need to function unless we're sleeping.
Correct.
So let's get right into it. Now we know through studies. I've done my little bit of research through Johns Hopkins. A doctor there, Dr. Mark Wu, did a study, and he referenced sleep as having there's two cycles of sleep. There's non-REM sleep and REM sleep. And I know a lot of people have heard REM sleep before, and I didn't know what REM sleep was until I started doing my research. What REM sleep is rapid eye movement. REM is an acronym for rapid eye movement. What that means is behind closed eyes. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to show you guys here in the camera. The eyes move left, right, up, down. And what that is that is your body. Your body's asleep, but your conscious mind is awake in its own little dimension, if you will, which we call the dream state. But before you hit that, you hit what's called non-REM sleep. And this is that between awake and fall asleep area that we find ourselves in. Most of us know exactly what we're talking about. It's some people can only, you feel like if you have a restless night of sleep, you probably didn't fully enter REM sleep or the 4 cycles of sleep. The same doctor says that we hit 4 total stages of sleep, but we cycle through the 2 non-REM and REM sleep, or the 2 that we cycle through. So first you go to non-REM, then you go into REM, then you go back into non-REM in stage 3. Stage 4 is back into REM sleep. But stage 3 and 4, they are a deep sleep, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and that's where your body is actually rejuvenated. Am I right in saying that, Eddie?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'd like to first do is I'd like to first talk about non-REM sleep and what's your view on non-REM sleep?
Well, what I would like to tell audience, those are scientific study of the what we call it in functional medicine or natural medicine is the mysteries of sleep. And so those study, as much as I welcome all of them and use them over the years, they're very limited because what we do when we do the sleep study is we do 2 things. We someone fall asleep and we have those pad or TED unit
Mm-hmm.
equipment plugged in, and we have screen looking at what the brain is doing in those stages that you just mentioned. When we say eye movement, we're also looking at the screen to see what is the brain is doing. But we really doesn't see what's going on in your sleep. We just can't. Okay, so we interpret those image of the brain and the screen as we see them, but we don't see what's going on in your sleep. And so we call those scientific names. Okay, so the non-REM sleep, it's the early stage of sleep where you just lay down, you're falling asleep. You're not in a deep sleep. This is a stage where someone come upstairs, they'll wake you up because you're not in
Mm-hmm.
a deep sleep. That's the earlier, what most call it, the first stage of sleep. But again, I have done numerous study, of course, using second data analysis because I never own a lab myself. I
Not
visit,
yet. We're working on that, Eddie.
I know, I visit many labs, but I never have my own lab. So second data analysis is what I do for all of my research. But we call those things name, and so therefore we understand that those studies have their limitation because sleep still remain a mystery to us. We don't know where you go when you fall asleep. If I'm sleeping, no matter how much you observe my physiological movement, you cannot see my dream. I would have to get up and tell you what I dreamed of. The screen you're looking at cannot enter my dream. So that's why I write it in there. So the science and the research are limited only to the physiological response. We can look at the screen.
Let me stop you there and let's go right into it. Let's talk about the dream state. What do you think is responsible for the dream state in all the things that you studied and all the things that you've been exposed to throughout, your professional and personal career? What are the things that drive the dream state? And I mean, I've heard of some people that can completely take control of their dream state. Have you ever heard of like people that can make themselves fly and can manifest things within their dream?
I have something similar, but not exactly the way you just put it. The first thing we want to do, we don't have a dream state. I never heard that. I don't know if the literature confer to of such
No,
thing, but I
that's
would know.
Orionism. I'm sorry.
Okay. The reason why I say that, that's because The minute you enter into somewhat between the first stage of sleep, the non-REM stage, the first stage of sleep, the minute you literally asleep, you begin to dream. Your entire night is the dream. All through the night you dream. You just don't remember it. And the reason why you don't remember it because most of the things you go through throughout the day depends on how you go to sleep. Your body is still going through the things you go throughout the day, and then your cerebral cortex, who's responsible to record the unconscious activities, which is dreams, cannot bring those things back to your consciousness because people don't know that. Whatever you go through throughout the day, when you go to sleep, your body's still going through it and it's interfere with your dream. But the minute you fall asleep, you enter into the second stage of sleep. You're dreaming all through the night. You just don't remember that. So that's a question we ask from a transcendental. When you fall asleep, where do you go? And then from what we do know from a transcendental concept, of those are very mysterious things. I can get into them if we have willing to do so.
Let's go. Let's go.
That dreams, we call them omen.
Omen,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
okay, like you have good omens, bad omens. There's an omen. It's a piece of information, if you will.
Well, again, from where I stand, I will refrain to concept of good and bad. They're just omen.
Okay.
There is no category put it good omen or bad omen. They're just omen. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't have
No, I understand.
information to categorize them as good and bad. They're just omen. And the concept of omen mean they are messenger, the message. That's what they are.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
dreams are message.
You have a
And so,
message.
yeah, the message can be a message for the future. It could be a message for the past, or it could be a message for the present. Because that's what they are. That's what your dreams are. The dream, it's either is telling you something that is not yet happened. It's going to happen in the future, or it's telling you what's happening today in your current present, and it's telling you something that did happen in the past. There's as such omen. The dreams are dream take place in a different dimension, and so therefore all the element of dream change. There is no time in dream, therefore dream have no beginning, it has no end. That's why people don't remember the dream, because you can have a dream that lasts for 30 seconds and the dream is like 1,000 years. It's like forever.
Yeah.
There is no time in dream.
I've had some dreams. Yeah, personally, I've had some dreams that I remember vividly, even still to
Correct.
this
You should
day.
remember
They,
your dream. You should
they
remember
almost,
your dream.
some almost haunt me. Like it, I don't know why. I don't know what they mean. I don't know what they are. And it's like, why is this stuck in my conscious? Why do I, and I know I'm not the only one because I've had this
Oh, yeah,
conversation with other
absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
And I myself, in the past have suffered from sleep paralysis,
Yes.
where you wake up suddenly from a deep sleep, but
And you can't move.
nothing. I couldn't even move my mouth. I couldn't
That's
even say
right.
help. I
And
couldn't
you
do
know you're awake.
anything. All wide awake. And then
But
there was also like an impending a
doom.
feeling of impending doom. Yeah. Like I'm a grown man with, fairly well capabilities to defend myself under most situations. And I feel like that there's a monster under my bed that's going to get me and there's nothing I can do about it.
But see, what we call it dream paralysis.
Yeah. Sleep
Actually,
paralysis is the
sleep,
clinical
yeah,
term.
sleep,
Yes.
yeah, sleep paralysis. But one of the things we know that the minute you enter into let me use your term, the stage or the place where you enter into your dream, the body produces 4 different type of chemical. Okay, the body produces 4 different type of chemical that will prevent you from move. And so therefore you can find yourself in a dream, you're running fast for your life, but guess what? You lay down on your bed nice and peaceful. But in
And
the
once,
dream, you're running like
yeah.
for your life,
And
but you're not
sometimes when you're
moving.
sleeping, you wake up like, oh my God, did I fall? Or your legs kick real fast and it wakes you up like, holy crap. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a restless sleeper sometimes. And that's, that's,
And go ahead.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Also, dream have no regional. There is no ground and dream. The part of you, if you see a ground, that is your subconscious that is create a aspect of a ground, because you can fall asleep right there in your living room and then you find yourself in China. There is no
Oh,
ground to walk on. There's no air to it. Dream have no boundaries. That's why they're omen. So dream is it taking place in a different dimension, and so and different part of the brain involving the dimensional aspect of the dream, because your brain is responsible to record the dream. This is why I think I shared this with you last time. You should take few minutes every morning when you get up to remember your dream. Unfortunately, I'm talking about ancient living. The modern day people who live, we who living today, we don't have the time for that. We get up, we don't even, we just hit the ground and running. We don't have time to lay there. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, since we had our conversation about that, I've actually changed my morning routine. I used to wake up, hit the ground running, hit snooze 2 or 3 times, and then try and get out the door with enough time to get to work on time and have all the things I need to get there on time. What I started doing recently is my alarm still goes off, obviously. Get up and I turn off my alarm.
Mhm.
And then I get myself together, get all my stuff, my clothes on, my teeth brushed, my face washed, and then I go downstairs and I lay on my couch. I don't turn no TV on. I don't turn on any lights. I lay there for a few minutes. Now, I have set a second alarm to make sure, because I'm
You
afraid
can
I'm going
fall
to.
asleep.
Yeah, exactly. But I try to take that time to really think, really put thought into whatever it is that I want to think about. Whether it's the podcast I'm going to do with Eddie that evening, or the meeting I'm going to have at work that day, or the work I'm going to do at work that day. Like, no matter what it is, I try to give myself a moment, or a few moments, if you will, a few minutes, to really focus on what I want to think about. And then I go about my day. And I'm telling you, I feel more productive doing so. It's almost like when I started, running and doing things like that, like high volume cardio. You get this, it's like a runner's high that lasts all day long. I kind of get a similar thing, but it's different from doing this, from taking this time of contemplation, if you will, or deep thought. It's really helped me out a lot personally. So if you're not doing it, give it a try. Not you,
Yes.
Eddie, but everyone else who's listening. I know you're on a whole nother other.
Of the universe, right?
Yeah. Speaking of, we say that our dream is in a different universe,
A different dimension.
different dimension. Now, is that dimension created in my mind, or is this a dimension that we all share in the dream state? I hate to use the word dream state because I know it's wrong, but just,
Yeah, we know what you mean.
yeah, it's Ryan. It's not Eddie that's calling it this. Hold on. Just, what is the dream dimension? Where does it come from, and what manifests it?
Well, it's not a dream dimension. It's a dimension, and that's where dream take place, and it's universal. Everyone that dream goes to that dimension. That's the
So
only
it's the
way that.
same dimension. It's not a
Correct.
manifested dimension in the subconscious. This is a dimension that exists. Is this by chance the fourth dimension that you speak of?
We didn't have a categorical location to it, whether or
Okay.
not it's the third or the fourth or the fifth dimension. But the fact that every living organism dream, okay, therefore there is a dimension where dream take place, whether it's the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension. We never put it in a locative concept, uh, universally, that is, because one thing we do know, all the dream is the same. uh, the the only thing that make your dream different from what I dreamed is your subconscious. Because see, we exist in our subconscious. We just live in our conscience. Let me say
Hmm.
that again. We
Okay.
exist in our subconscious, but we live in our conscience. Our conscience is divided in two. It's a dual concept of our existence. There is an unconscious self, there is a conscious self. Currently, you and I, we're conscious of what we do, and so we are consciously activating. We understand where we are, what we're doing, and so on and so forth, what day it is, and so on. That's the conscious self. But there is an unconscious self. In other words, there are things that is happening in the unconscious self. We're currently unaware of it. And if you go back and say, oh, yeah, that happened when I was doing the podcast. Well, it was happening. You just was unconscious of it, but it was happening. So there is an unconscious self. That's not the subconscious. The subconscious is where you exist. According to theory of existence, where we study things in great detail, and
Is
those
that Floyd's theory of existence?
well, not it's not his theory. He expand on
He
it
expanded,
greatly,
yeah.
greatly, tremendously. That's why
See,
we
I've been
recognize
reading, Eddie.
it. Yeah, Freud. Yeah, that's why we call him the father of psychoanalysis because
Yeah.
of the great work he has done. Yes, and Piaget did the same thing as well. And as well as when we're looking at those type of understanding of our existence, we're also looking into the philosophers as well who talk a lot about formless. And so when we talk about dream, you're talking about a formless state of existence that happening in a dream place, which we call the omen manifestation. So what happened is once you're there, your dream it's happening, and your subconscious is what make the dream real for you. Because when you fall asleep, you fall asleep consciously. The subconscious does not fall asleep.
Okay.
And so therefore it is your subconscious that make the dream real for you. This is why your brain is able to record the dream, because your subconscious is interconnected to the brain. And so therefore you should be able to get up and recollect your dream. Now, not all dreams are omen. They are dreams that it continues of your daily life. For example, if you dreamed you having sex with a woman, that's a continue of a thought that you formulate throughout the day,
Yeah.
and then it continue to happening in a dream form. And that woman can be any object, but in the dream you accept it as a woman. It could be a tree, but you will accept it because the dream have no bound in terms of what we do. It's a matter of fact. I Go ahead.
I used to have a transportation company and I drove a lot. And I never fell asleep while driving. Not once, not even came close. I always made sure I had plenty of sleep. And if I was coming close to feeling that, what I call the soft feeling, I got off the road and I take a nap for an hour or two and I get back on the road, finish it out. But the most terrifying dream ever is to be sleeping and think you're driving. Waking up like, oh my God, and you're laying in bed. That used to terrify me to no end. What is that? Yeah, like, what is that? I drove so much. Like, I would do 600 miles in a day, 3-4 days out of the week. And then the last day I would do 200 or 300 miles. But, I mean, I put some time on the road at that point in my life. And it was like, it was getting to the point where I would have to tell myself before I went to sleep, we're in bed. We're not in the truck. I know we've been in the truck for 16 hours today, but we're not there now, buddy. We're in bed. Do not wake me up, please. 3 hours later, I'm up. Okay. I wasn't sleeping on I-80 with a load on the trailer and doing 75 mile an hour.
The brain is fascinating.
The brain is terrifying. Sometimes I wish it would just, like, I have a mute button. Ready? Here, I'm going to hit my. Now, I don't have that, though, for my brain. There makes me come in and out. Like, I have a mute button on this microphone here, but I don't have one up here. I need one up here, Eddie.
Fortunately, you do. You just don't know it. You don't know where it's at. Or we do have a mute button.
Is that found through meditation?
Not find it. Meditation is a mute button.
Okay.
And then that's one of the places. But since you mentioned it, I was going to go there. I don't know if I was going to go there today. Actually, the way we explain it from a transcendental perspective that when you go to sleep tonight, okay, when you and I go to sleep tonight, we say this is conscious sleep. We call it conscious sleep. You're consciously, physically falling asleep. Whereas meditation is unconscious sleep.
Huh.
So when I get into meditation, this is why a lot of people say they meditate. We don't argue with them, but to meditate, you need probably at least an hour and a half, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to reach the place where you are unconsciously asleep, where you separate yourself from everything. I can separate myself from my thought, literally looking at my thought in a different place. So called dissociation. We know that, and we do that in psychology. So meditation is a place where you begin to systematically uh, separate yourself from everything you experience, from all your senses. Of course, it takes time to do that. That's not something you can do in 15 minutes and half an hour and 45 minutes. That's how long it even take you to slow your brain, your breathing. The first stage of meditation is to literally bring the breath to a place where you don't even feel that you're breathing. You're breathing, you know you're breathing because you're alive, and then you go to the body where you begin to separate yourself from the body. You actually do that when you fall asleep. That's how you fall asleep, is because you fall asleep because all the physiological aspect of your interconnected senses of consciousness literally abandon you, and that's why you fall asleep. The body doesn't know itself when you fall asleep. Someone can walk into your room and chop you into pieces while you fall asleep. You have no defense. The body have no defense when it's asleep. The only defense the body have is your conscious awareness of it.
And
And
that's why I
so,
have dogs in my house. You can't get in. Early warning systems. I have dogs and firearms. Try and chop me up while I'm sleeping. You're going to get bit and shot and rolled up in the carpet. Just saying, for anyone who wants to give it a try, I'd strongly recommend against it.
yeah, so those things are very, very wonderful aspect to understand how we are multidimensional. That's what that means. And many people who feel heavy, burdened, who feel loaded with the physiological aspect of existence is because those people are not, they don't have the opportunity to interact with the other dimension that we have. We are multidimensional being, and therefore we have the ability to separate ourselves from one dimension to the next. So in other words, if you get up today, you find yourself facing anything in your life, you do have a building capacity. I mentioned that yesterday, what you call the inner engineering, where you can actually separate yourself from whatever it is you go. Of course, more people don't know to do that, and so we constantly interact with the proclivity of the day to day and the physiological dimension. And to most people, that's all they know. And our physiological aspect have one concept built into it, that is the biological, the biochemical. And so therefore, there's two elements that involve in the human existence. There's the biochemistry and there is the bioenergy. Most people in the world only know the biochemistry, and that's where the day-to-day activity interacting with the physical world, who is so interconnected with our biophysical and also communicating to us through our biochemistry. But what we don't know, what most people don't know, is that we can tap in, it's available to us in our biochemistry. And that's a completely different dimension where we still in the physiological form, but we can separate ourselves from the biochemistry and the biophysical and enter into the bioenergy, where we experience a different dimension, what we call frequency, energy, and vibration. And all that, it's also part of our understanding the sleep. In other words, if I so incline, I could, which I have done very frequently, particularly when I fast for 3, 5, or 7 days. Most of those fasting days will be me meditating and what you call an unconscious sleep. I can spend 6, 7 hours in meditation, but I am literally entering a completely different dimension. I am aware of the physiological dimension, but I'm also separate from it where I can see all of activity outside of my conscious awareness
How often do you meditate?
every day,
How often do you fast?
every week. I fast every week, and I fast every month, and I fast every 3 months. In other words, every week I must fast at least 3 days out of the week. Okay, and
Hold on. You fast for 3 days out of the week every week?
I have to cleanse the body and also to connect with the
Wow.
spiritual aspect of.
I thought I was a
Okay.
beast because I intermittent fasted for like 4 or 5 days out of the week. You're doing 3 days a week. You're fasting.
Yeah, intermittent fast. Remember, that's an American concept.
I think it's actually
also
a primal concept more so than anything else.
well,
Primal Man didn't eat 3 times a day. Primal Man ate 1 or 2 times a day. Most of his time was spent in fast.
the reason why we say that because the concept of fast, it's a modern concept. The primal generation didn't, the language didn't involve those
No.
high words,
No.
so they didn't have those high classical term that you're now using. So whether they were not eating or not, they didn't consider it fast. So that's why
Well,
we
not
refer to it
consider,
as
but
eating.
biologically they were
Yeah,
fasting.
yeah,
Whether
they
they
were
liked it or
fasting.
not, they didn't have a
Correct.
refrigerator.
Yeah, whether they're
Yeah.
aware of it or not. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And so that's the thing. And it's very, very, very beneficial to do that. And I encourage people to do that a lot. There's a lot of benefit to that. Go ahead.
So weekly you do a 3-day. Every 3 month you do a what?
Every 3 months we fast for 7 days.
7 days.
Yes. And then at the end of the year, I can either fast either for 7 days, 14 days, or 21 days. It all depends what going through the year. If I deal with lots of clients that have lots of issues, I probably, because I carry those issues with me, so I probably don't want to go and fast for 14 days because I don't have an exhaust pipe to get those things. I hear from client who's dealing with all kinds of things, so I
Yeah.
have to
God bless you
process
for that
them.
one, brother. Oof.
And I'm not alone. Many people do that. If you
Mm.
go to a psychiatric ward, you will see the essence on different side of the human existence. And so it depends how much of those very high psychological and psychiatric issue I dealt with throughout the year will determine at the end of the year how many days I will fast. But I always close the year with a series of fasting and cleanse and a very deep meditation. And I do that periodically. There a year I will fast for 6 months out of the year. And so what I would do, go ahead.
I'm listening. I'm sorry. You're going to fast for 6 months out of the year. So
Yes,
total. So,
total,
okay.
total.
Yeah. I was going to
And
say,
what
you
we
can't
do,
live if you don't eat for 6 months, Eddie.
what we do, we'll
Now,
fast.
when you say fasting, are you referring to the bloodletting that you and your vampire friends do? I have a running joke that Eddie's a vampire. It's the only way it makes sense that I can't keep up with him in the gym. This man is, I'm not going to give away his age. He can do that himself, but I'm almost 40 years old and I'm in pretty decent shape. I pride myself on that. And I struggle to keep up with him, like big time struggle. I work out with Eddie and
Pretty good. I mean, you work out and you're very strong. And yeah, today I saw you were bench pressing a plate and 225. That's over 2 plates.
yeah, I was throwing it around a little bit today. Yeah,
That's
just a little bit.
heavyweight. That's heavyweight. Yes. So what we do, beginning in January 1st, okay, in the month of January, we eat 15 days in January and we fast 15 days. And so out of the month, we eat half of the month. So
When you
and
say we, who are we referring to?
well, there's a group. I belong to a group called the Franciscan group. There's a bunch of former priests that even though we don't wear the robe anymore, we sit out here to the prophecy and then we meet in secret. It's a secret group that we meet to look at what's going on
Let's
in
not
the
say no
world.
more. Let's
Okay.
not say no
So
more.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
so
vampires. Yeah, we know. Say less, Eddie. I'm exposing you one step at a time, my friend.
and then we do the same thing. In February, we eat 14 days and then we fast 14 days. Now, not consequently, in other words, I eat Monday, I don't eat Tuesday. I eat Wednesday, I don't eat Thursday. So out of the week, I eat either 12 days or 3 days. At the end of the month, I'll be eating half of the month. And we do that all through the year. We always said it. That's the year we do it. So we all are doing it. All of us that belong
That's
to the
amazing
Franciscan
because
era.
okay. No, I
And
mean, I absolutely get it because I've fasted before. The longest fast that I've ever done was 3 days,
that's
and that was
awesome.
difficult for me. Like it was 3 consecutive days, water only. It was difficult. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
but it,
if you continue, then the body gets used to it. And you know that you fast when the body begin to feed on itself. That's what you want to. You
yeah,
want the
you can
body,
feel that too.
the body start
The
feeding on
clinical
itself.
term is your body begins to eat the brown fat, which is the fat that surrounds
Correct.
the organs, and it's
Yeah,
what a lot of people don't know this. That's the most nutrient dense fuel that your body can get because it's literally fuel that your body has stored around its most precious
yep,
pieces that it has to stay functional. So it uses brown fat to like protect the liver, the kidney, the intestines, the lung, the heart, the every organ that's inside your core is protected by a layer of brown fat.
of brown
And
fat,
I'm telling you guys, if
which
you've
is a
never
high form of
gotten there,
protein.
oh, and energy,
That's
like
right.
I woke up the 3rd day on my fast and I was like, man, okay, one more day. I just got to get through today. And I took my dog for a walk because I had to stay engaged in something the whole time throughout this fast. I'm like halfway through the walk and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Like, it's like rocket fuel in my body. Like I went from a walk to now we're just going to go hike up this mountain because I got it. Like I got it today. And it's amazing.
Yes. So sleep is vital. And then, as I was saying at the beginning of the opening statement, that what needed to happen, we should sleep the same equal amount of time we stay awake. Of course, I'm talking about our ancestor because the modern day human don't have the luxury of that.
Yes.
We do
Yes.
not. We
Our
just our
our
lives are complete.
ancestors operated off the circadian.
Correct. Correct. Yes, and that's what needs to happen. So when we're talking about sleep, notice in the modern day when we talk about sleep, we often time sleep. How many hours do you sleep, and so on and so forth. That's because people only have certain amount of available time given to them in the industrial era. Work take our lives away,
Mm.
responsibility take our lives away, things we have to do, places we have to go, people we have to see. And so our lives is measured by time. And so people literally go ahead. Yeah.
And a lot of those have tos are actually want tos.
Yes, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. The
Yeah.
industrial era taking over our lives. But when we talk about sleep, it needs to be said from a naturalistic point of view that we were supposed to sleep the same quantity of time that we stay awake, and that's the equilibrium in our circadian rhythm that in line with the suns and the earth and the
Yep.
ocean and the moon. Of course, that's ancient history.
And
But go ahead.
as we both sit here with our lights on, it is dark outside.
That's right.
So just to clarify, we're nowhere near perfect. We're just
Correct.
identifying things. That's all we're doing.
Correct.
But
Correct.
to just go a step further here, well, the circadian rhythm did drive primal man and pre-modern man. What drives modern man and postmodern? Are we still using that? Are we gonna
Postmodern.
okay? So what's driving modern man and postmodern man is your sleep drive. You get tired, you go to sleep. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. Some of us work 3rd shift, some of us work 2nd shift. If you're working 2nd shift, you're just now getting ready to get off work and it's 10:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
You might sleep until 11, 12 o'clock the next day because your day might start again at 3 or 4 in the afternoon instead of, 5, 6 a.m. like some people. So it's not that sleep drive is bad. It's in my opinion, at least, you really need to pay attention to the sleep drive. If you find that it's every week, I'm really tired by Wednesday, you need to readdress what you're doing Monday and Tuesday night before you go to bed.
Unfortunately, most people can because people that just can't. If that's where you are in your personal life responsibility, that's the shift you work, you just can't change it. One of the things we want to say about sleep, sleep is restorative. When
Yes.
you sleep, that's when the
Regenerative
body
as well.
restores itself. Correct. That's
Yep.
correct. There are certain things that the body needs to do. It can only do it when you're asleep. It cannot do it if you're not asleep. It is impossible for those functions to operate. There are certain things, for example, the brain need to cleanse itself. You need to be at least in a third and a fourth stage of sleep for the brain to cleanse itself because and all through the environment, we're breathing all kind of toxin. One of the toxin we breathe is metal. Everything we produce create metal, and there's metal in the air. And we also put a lot of metal in the air, and I'm guilty of it. People don't know that, but that's what we do. All our activity, factories, machineries, everything we do put excess metal in the air. And this is why the science indicates that, well, we say we need to be careful how we say that metal in the body had been correlate, not cause, because we see correlation is not causation, but metal in the human body, also excess metal in the brain had been correlate, not cause, Alzheimer's disease and early dementia because we have too much metal in the brain, not cause, but correlate. In other words, when we look at the brain of people who die of Alzheimer's disease, there is an excess amount of metal we find in the brain. Not that's not the cause, but it's correlate, and so therefore
It's the correlation. Yeah.
correlation, correct.
Yeah.
And so what happened is the body cleanses itself, and that's one of the things the brain does. So what needs to happen in the third and the fourth stage of sleep, all the other vital organ, your kidney, your liver, your intestine, your lungs, all those organs literally go into a repose because they're not using any energy. That's why you need to be in the third and fourth stage of sleep for that to happen, where those organs are so reposed, it's what rest. They're using very little energy, and part of the energy turn into fluid. The brain then take that fluid and wash itself. That's why
Yep.
you get up in the morning. What you need to do, you need to urinate, but what you need to do after you brush your teeth, you should drink at least 12, 16, 18 ounces of warm water so you can wash it out.
Body temperature water, or not body
Exactly.
temperature, room temperature water.
Room temperature, yeah.
Yeah.
So every night, for as long as I can remember, like now, before I go to bed, I have a big jar. I put it on the table. You don't want it cold. You have to be
Yep.
room temperature. And after
I
you
don't.
brush your teeth, go ahead.
I don't even drink cold water ever.
Go ahead. Yeah, you should never drink cold water.
Yeah, I don't like cold water.
Room temperature water, that's cold enough for you. But to take water from the refrigerator is drinking is not healthy at all. And
Well,
then
your
that's
body has to warm the water back up before it can,
well, what
right?
happened is,
And it
yeah,
drops the temperature of the gut biome as well.
well, if that was the only problem, the body probably could have worked around that because of your circadian, because your thyroid, it's a thermostat.
Okay.
That's what your thyroid is. And so whenever there's temperature change in the body, the thermostat kicked in so the body can don't you don't freeze to death. Or when the temperature get high, you don't die of
Die.
exhaustion.
Yeah.
So it's very sensitive to temperature, but that's what it is. It's a hormone gland, but it also operates as a thermostat. It regulates the temperature of the body for you very well. So what happened is the reason why cold water is not healthy for us, anything cold period, you should never put ice in anything you drink because your stomach is a bag of acid. Anything cold that go in there, it just freezes it. And so whatever you have in there is gonna stay there for longer, which you don't want because that it freeze.
Oh.
Your stomach should always be warm, and so the acid break down anything you breathe. When you drink water, it doesn't go. It doesn't. It go in your stomach. Everything you put in your mouth go in your stomach. Period. That's it.
I like how you point it here for the stomach and not down here. Like everyone points at their belly button and says,
I
"That's
know,
my
I
stomach,"
know.
and I'm like, "Bro, that's your
It's
poop hole."
yeah, I know. Everything you put in your mouth goes in your stomach, and it have to do its work to send it to the various department. and cold things. And there's another thing you should never drink. You should never drink anything that is sparkle, like
Hmm.
sparkling. Okay, that's not good at all. That's not good.
What
Like,
he's saying is carbonated.
correct. Anything
Yeah.
that carbonated,
Except
you
for
don't
beer.
want.
Carbonated beer is okay. Beer is
No,
good.
no,
Yes,
anything
Eddie, I'm going to
carbonated.
argue with you till the end of time on this one. I don't even drink that often anymore, but man, if you're going to drink anything that's cold and carbonated, make sure it's a Yingling. There you go, Curtis. That one's for you, brother. I have a friend of mine that loves Yingling beer. We know it's local here. He doesn't live here at all. So whenever he gets himself a can of Yingling, it's the best thing in the world. So is this why English folk like their lager warm? Because it's actually better for you?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's one thing we want to, and so make sure those things we do, and so that's part of our sleep apparatus as well. You don't want to drink too much fluid prior to your bedtime because if you have a lot of fluid in the body, the brain will connect that and it will wake you up to empty your bladder. So you want to drink whatever you're going to drink at least an hour two before you
Huh.
go to bed so you can start urinate. So you
We
want to
never heard that
sleep.
before. So an
You,
hour or two before bed, you shouldn't
before bed, you should
drink.
stop drinking or stop eating.
Here I
You don't
am
want to
drinking
give
water.
anybody work to do toward the night. The only thing the body needs to
Okay.
do is sleep. And I would encourage people if one of the things they can do, begin to monitor the sleep. You want to increase your sleep. You want to sleep through. You should have a goal to change your lifestyle, to change your activities, to change everything you do, and have a goal one night to go to sleep and sleep all through the night. That's what you want.
Yeah, I
If
don't do
you,
that. Yeah, I haven't
that's
years.
that's something you should have as a goal to go
Yeah,
to
it
bed
is.
and
It
sleep
most
through the
definitely
night.
is for me. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I just to give everyone a little backstory on my sleep history. There was a time where I refused to sleep more than 2 to 3 hours at a time. I would set alarms because I would have sleep paralysis and night terrors and other such psychological things going on with me that I would set alarms and I would wake up every 3 hours. Wake up,
mm,
go outside for a minute, or even just wake up and just be awake and then go back to sleep. Where I would still get 6, sometimes 8 hours of sleep a night. It would never be consecutive because I didn't want to hit the deep sleep. Because the deep sleep is where things got scary for me and where
mm,
the sleep paralysis would happen, night terrors would happen. I woke up one time and my palms had fingernail marks in it because I had
mm.
clenched my fist so tight that my hands had started to bleed. Little beknownst to me, I found this out later on. Well, I mean, I was eating fast food and drinking beer every night before I went to bed. So that was probably 90% of my problem, if I'm being honest with you. I dealt with
Yes,
some other psychological issues
the
as
food.
well.
Yes, yes.
And but since doing that, and I don't eat junk food. I don't eat anything that's, and I've said this before. I'm going to say this until you guys get sick of hearing me say it and tell me you're sick of hearing me say it. Do not eat anything that is cheap. Do not eat anything that is easy, and do not eat anything that is fast. Stay away from cheap, easy, and fast women too. Your life will go a lot easier, trust me.
You can say that I can't.
Eddie can't, but I will. I will say the things that Eddie can't say. Stay away from cheap, fast, and easy women, boys. It'll help you out. And the food too. Don't eat McDonald's and don't, yeah.
And
We'll leave it
so,
at that.
yes, we'll leave it as that. And so, those are the stages of sleep, the non-REM, the REM, and also remember, as I share with you, the minute you enter into the second stage of sleep, where you actually asleep, where the body is at rest, you begin to dream. You just don't remember that. And so,
Yes.
one of the goal I would encourage you to begin to trying to remember your dream. It's not going to happen in 2 days and 3 days. It takes lots of exercise when you get up in the morning to take a moment to awake into the awakened stage. It's what we call the awakened stage. It's a matter of fact, many of the sage, those are the great masters of teachers that pass on some of those transcendental knowledge to us. where we call them the awakened stage. We say that if you are not connecting with your dream stage, which is a different dimension, you actually constantly dreaming, even though you're awake. And that's what we mean when we say to someone, "You're dreaming." That's mean you're never awake. You need to be awakened. And so therefore, when you wake up in the morning, even though your eyes is open, the body is not yet awake, and you take a moment to awake the body, connect with the body, feel the senses of the body. Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel stress? Where do you feel pressure? Just connect with the body and have a plan how you're going to deal with that. It doesn't have to take time. It doesn't have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be lengthy time, 1 to 3 minutes. Again, the modern man, 1 minute in the morning could be a life thing because we get up and hit the ground running. But I'm telling you, if you want to prolong your life, these are the very simple things you can do. It doesn't take a lot of time. Now, if you're off, yeah, take 3 to 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. But if you're not off 1 minute, a minute and a half,
When
just
he
lay
says off,
there.
he means off work.
You're not going
If
to
you
work.
don't
Yeah,
have to go to
yeah.
work when you
If you
wake
don't
up,
have to go to work, that's
yeah.
what I meant. Thank you, Ryan. And you can take a little bit more time. But if you have to go to work, 1 minute, 90 seconds, that's all it takes. And I know it's hard because if you have to go to work, that 1 minute, it's a lot. If you have to, it's a lot. I
It's 2
understand
less
that.
sips of coffee. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot, but I'm telling you the payoff, the longevity of those building 1 minute in the morning, and the same is true at night. I know you have to go to bed because you have to get up, but those 2 minutes, 3 minutes to reconnect with yourself prior to slide on the bed, those are longevity. They prolong the life of the being to which you are experiencing, and that's all building into sleep. Another things I want to tell our friends also, your sleep also determine, and there's a word I left out. The quality of your sleep also determine of the quality of your day. The way you spend the day today have a lot to do with the quality of the sleep you're going
I
to
don't know
have tomorrow.
anybody that would argue with that. You get a good night's sleep and you can't help but to have a good day. You get a
Correct,
shitty night's
correct.
sleep
There you go. Correct, correct,
yeah.
correct,
If your
correct.
sleep is constantly interrupted, good luck having a good day.
That's right. It ain't gonna
Yeah.
happen. You are ready to strangle people all through the day.
All day long. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
And people look at you and say, I don't know what's going on, Mr. Pierre. He seems irritated. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's
he's
because
tired. He needs a nap.
that's right. That's right. And so that's what I said. The quality of your day affect the quality of your sleep and vice versa. So pay attention to what's going on your day because you're going to take it with you into the night and to your sleep. And so
Very
those are
well.
the very important part of things you need to pay attention for your sleep. And
Now, what
then
about naps?
naps are very, very good if they're available. Not everybody have the luxury of nap, but I will definitely encourage nap. Nap will be very good. Now, depends on someone where they are in their life. Some people, the brain cannot register nap. Okay, like me, I can't take nap. If I take nap, that's when my day it's over.
That's
It would,
sleep for you, huh?
yeah, that's sleep for
I'm the
me.
opposite. My favorite thing to do in the world is come home from work. If I'm hungry, I'll eat a little something, but not a lot. Lay down, get my shower, lay down, take a nap. Give me an hour. Just an hour. Let me get that nap in. After that nap, I can wake up, I can eat another full meal and hit the gym, and I'm a savage. If you don't give me that nap, though, I'm like, all right, let's go to the gym. And I don't work as
Yeah.
hard. I'm not that savage beast that I usually am. Man, you give me that nap after work. That's why people that I work with, they're like, how do you work 10 hours a day and then go to the gym? I'm like, dude, I take naps. That's how I do it. That's the only way I do it is I take naps.
Well, I can take a nap, but it have to be an unplanned nap. In other words, let's say I come and whatever, and I'm sitting there, and then kids talking to me, and daddy fall asleep,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna pay for it because if I take a 5 minute nap, it'll take me an hour and a half to reconnect with the world.
Oh, you're one of those. See, I'm a
Yeah,
snap guy. I wake up
yeah.
and it's like, let's go.
No,
Yeah.
I can't do that. It will take me. So the nap is too costly. It'll take me to. I would say, okay, not now. I need to reconnect. But said, Dad, I didn't tell you to fall asleep. Yeah, I know. That's why I don't take nap because now I have to recalibrate. I have to put everything back where they were. Even a 5 minute nap will completely shut
Hmm.
me down, like I'm done with the day. And
So
so,
what time frame? You said 5 minutes. To me, 5 minutes, that's not a nap. That's
well,
nothing.
yeah, if I
I
fall asleep,
just I was killing a bug in my eye for 5 minutes. I was suffocating bugs that were in my eye. That's all I was doing. Oh yeah, you want to try that? Yeah, good luck.
yeah, if
But
I
to me,
doze off, I have to recalibrate.
I understand that. But clinically, they say a nap is 30 to 90 minutes. That's a clinical nap, if you will. That the literature I read from John Hopkins.
Hmm.
And I kind of agree with that because if you don't give me the 45 minutes to an hour, that's not a nap to me. I'm still irritated. I'm still tired.
Yeah, I believe that. Yes, I believe that. But again, that's why I said, and I know I work with people that nap when they get up from a nap, they get very irritated. You need to leave them alone. Don't talk to. So I just get up from a nap. Leave me alone. It's like, okay, yeah. So
That's how my
nap
mother
is
was.
good. Yeah, nap is good, but it's if it's available to you. Not sometimes you can be exhausted and fall asleep. You don't consider that a nap. You're just tired and you fall asleep.
That's your
But there,
body taking
yeah,
control. Yeah.
exactly. But
It's a
there are
weird
people
thing.
who take regular naps.
It's a weird thing, sleep, because like we said in the beginning, you can be hungry and you can resist food. You can be sore and you can resist
Hmm.
stretch. You can be
Hmm.
overweight and you can resist exercise. But you cannot be tired and resist sleep. It'll get you
Yeah.
no
Oh
matter
yeah.
what.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
they say it's an OG thing. Sleep is the cousin of death. Just like sleep, no matter how hard you work out, no matter how well you eat, no matter how much you sleep, he's coming. Death is going to come for all of us, whether we like it or not. You were born, you must die. Sorry.
No. Hey, that's a podcast we should have talking about that. But yes,
Whew.
so sleep. Yeah.
Wow, where do I get my research for that one at? I don't know what John Hopkins. I bet you John Hopkins has done studies on death. I'm 100% sure they have.
Well, the way we said we don't say it, we said we call it death and dying. Actually, we are dying. Every breath
Every
you
day.
take, you are
Yeah.
dying. So it's death and dying, and that's how the study will word it. But from a transcendental perspective, what we say that sleep, it's a preparation for death. So every time you sleep, you prepare yourself for death.
Huh. That's a lot to chew on. I'm gonna leave that alone for right now. If
Yeah,
everyone's okay with that, that's a
yeah,
lot for
like I
Ryan to
said.
chew on.
Yeah, from a transcendental point of view, we're looking at the mysteries of sleep because, for example, the Bible doesn't call death death. The Bible called death sleep. It said that uh, David slept with his father and he was buried in the grave. The Bible doesn't recognize death because
Hmm.
there is no death. You just fall asleep. You will be awakened to a different dimension at the end of existence, what the Bible say will happen. So.
And it has
Uh,
absolutely nothing to do with the chemical or physical being whatsoever, correct?
Correct. That's correct. Yes. And so, from the mysteries of sleep, we see that sleep it's a practice or preparation for that. Thus, they do that for us in the priesthood. 21 days prior to your ordination, you will go to what we call a transposition. You will fast for 21 days. Actually, back then they used to require the priest fast prior to him ordained as a priest, just like Jesus fasted for 40 days in the wilderness. You were to fast for 40 days
Hmm.
prior to you. We call it transposition. You are leaving the physical world, you enter into the spiritual world. A priest is not part of the physical world. At least that's the way they trained you. That you're not in this world. You're in this world, but you're not part of it. And so you live in this dual dimension. You're living in a physical state and as well in a spiritual state. So a priest is to spend at least 8 to 10 hours daily in solitary so he can learn to live himself.
One day I want to do a whole episode on the origins of Eddie. Oh my God. It's like
Well, you're not gonna find much in the origin of it. He's
that's
about
what you think.
something years old, so
That's what you think.
that's not too much of its origin. You mean his
It's a
experience?
60-year origin. Where have you been since you were 6 years old? And go. I mean, come on, man. It's like it's the world's most interesting onion. That's what you've become. The world's most interesting onion. It's every time I talk to you, I peel back another layer, man. Okay.
Yes, so sleep is vital to life. The quality of your sleep also predicate upon the quality of your daily. Okay, your diet affect your sleep. Your sleep affect your diet. Guess what else affect your sleep? Your
What?
intimate relationship.
Oh, of course.
Your intimate
You ever
relationship.
sleep next to someone you love and then not be there one night? Good luck. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Oh, for
Your
sure.
relationship, the environment also affect your sleep. Your thought affects your sleep. Also, your intimate relationship mean your love making also affects your sleep. When you have a good love making night, you can rest yourself. You can have a good your good night's sleep. So everything in your awakened state affect your sleep state. That's the bottom line.
Very true. How many hours a night do you sleep, Eddie? On average?
On average, at least 8 to 10.
8 to 10 a night.
Yes. Like when I go to bed this
Sounds so
morning,
glorious. Now let's not talk about what time it is again. People are going to start thinking we're crazy.
when I go
Just
to
know
bed,
it's dark and I'm tired.
this is why I'm very sensitive to people. I am self-employed and I schedule my client as I will. And most of my clients work, and so I see them on their day off. Most of my clients are teachers, doctors. I have a couple of police officers from the Lebanon school district I work with. So I see them on their day off. And so if the person is off, I'll see him at 12 noon. So I can get up anytime 9:30, 10 o'clock on a regular basis. I don't see client every weekend, but the weekend I see client, then I get up early. But on the weekend I don't see client, I can sleep 10, 11 o'clock and I will get up and do my routine like I normally do. But I want to have at least 8 or 10 hours of sleep regularly. And I don't
I,
take nap.
I function on 6 with a nap.
Well, with a nap, it give you a
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, it gives me that 7th. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
but I try to make sure I get at minimum 6 to 8 myself. So yeah. Just one more question here. What about yawning? Because I've been yawning. That's why I had to write it down. What is a yawn and what's happening? Why am I yawning and what happens when I do yawn?
When you yawn, is your lower extremity that is taking chemical and send it to the brain, tell the brain shut down.
Hmm.
In
Why is
other
it
words,
contagious?
because they all go through the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. They
You
all
ever
go through
notice that though? Like if you're hanging out with someone and they're hey, and
Well,
then you're like, "Whoa,
we,
dude, what'd you do to
yeah,
me?"
well, we call that psychological association. Your experience what someone is experienced by association to your brain. But this is what happened. Once the sun go to certain thing, or your body itself can be, you can be yawning throughout the day as well. But
Yeah, that's your
yawning,
sleep drive instead of your
exactly.
circadian rhythm.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a low extremity, your kidney, your liver, your intestine, all those low extremity is telling the brain shut down, and then the brain communicate that to you to a chemical.
Hmm. I've read somewhere, and I don't have because it was a long time ago, that your body actually releases carbon monoxide that builds up in the brain when you yawn.
When you're
Is
young,
that correct as
that's a
well?
big dose. Yes,
Okay.
that's what it tells the brain shut down, and then yeah, that's and then so. But the brain is communicating to you, it's time to close down. But of course, usually we don't. Depends what we have to do yet. But
Yeah,
yawning, yeah.
exactly. If you're
Now,
doing a
if
podcast, you just push through.
yeah, exactly. Now, if you know, many other mammal also yawn.
Yeah, my
So
dog yawns. Yeah.
it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the
I've
same.
seen a deer yawn
Yeah.
before too. It really was
Yes,
weird to see.
absolutely.
I shot
Many,
him not
many
long
of the
after.
living organisms. So remember, take care of your sleep, do all those life changes, very small step you can take to improve. And there's a word I want you to start using associated with your sleep. What is the quality of my sleep? And then
Quality.
associate that the quality of my sleep also predicate upon the quality of my day. And have goals for yourself, trying to equip the number of your waking to the number of sleep. If you're awake for 12, 14 hours throughout the day, see if you can upgrade your number of hours. I know it's very hard to do for those of you who have lots of responsibility, that have children, different type of work, but those are the things you can do to, in terms of increase your longevity. They don't cost much, but they actually require a lot. So that would be my advice to our audience. And thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Eddie. Do you have anything else you want to cover here before we sign off? I think we about covered most of it, huh?
Yes, we cover most of it and talk a lot about REM and non-REM. We talk about how the industrial era hijack our lifestyle, including affecting our sleep. We also talk a lot about, a bit, I should say, about environmental that affect our sleep, relationship affect our sleep, dieting affect our sleep, work affect our sleep, all the things that affect our sleep. And those are the things we can do some things about.
Okay, before we go, I want to talk about what happens to the body when we don't give it the sleep that it needs. What are some of the risks that we put ourselves in, and immediate risks? Not, I mean, we all understand long term what we're doing. Not, I'm going to say we all do, but we kind of covered long term. The not the causation, but the correlation of not enough sleep on an extended period of time can lead to Alzheimer's disease, can lead to
Yes.
overweight, diabetes, such. What are we actually depriving our body of chemically when we deprive ourselves of sleep?
The first thing that began to go haywire, completely get out of control, completely become disorganized, is our cognitive process. We're unable to process information. We're unable to respond appropriately because the cognitive system, the chemical it needs, have to be building in it throughout the night. That's why when you get up, you're fresh, you're ready to go. That's because you have a whole dose of chemical in the brain ready to activate your cognitive process to process information. That's the idea. If you have a terrible night's sleep, you can rest assured it's going to affect your day as well. So the first thing, the first immediate negative effect of not sleeping properly is the cognitive process. You get irritated a lot, you're foggy, you're not processing things. I can say something very simple to you like, what did you say? That's because the brain is not processing information. You get irritated a lot for no reason, and then you find yourself apologizing. Then people, I'm sorry. It's a no, yeah. Those the cognitive process is not. That's the first thing that begin to affect, and that not even for a lot. In other words, if this week your sleep pattern was affected, you can rest assured. You just don't know that, but your cognitive process is it's in trouble. If it's continue, you're very close to have what we consider a nervous breakdown.
Oh, okay. And then what are the downsides of sleep stimulants, such as taking a sleep aid to go to sleep?
Well, any enhancement of the neurotransmitter have negative effect because that's what the sleep aid will do. It mimic the neurotransmitter, and definitely you have side effects. So I prefer to go as a functional practitioner. We will prefer to go naturally. There are lots of natural things you can do that would be even better than a sleep aid. But you definitely will have some negative side effect for any enhancement you take.
John Hopkins had recently done a study on melatonin because melatonin has become the new fad, I guess,
Right?
if you will.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
actually showed that your body doesn't release the proper amount of serotonin because of the overload of artificial melatonin. And if you continue to take melatonin over time, your body will stop
That's right.
producing its own melatonin
That's
because
right.
it doesn't see the need for it.
For
So I
it. That's
employ
right.
you people, I employ everyone who's listening, before you start on a melatonin regimen, just do a little bit of research for yourself. I'm not saying if you need to go to sleep because I got a flight in the morning, I got to get to bed early so I can get up earlier than I usually do. I'm not going to give anybody any advice at all, but my personal opinion is take melatonin as a last resort and stay away from all other sleep aids, because you're not entering into the third and fourth stages of sleep. If you're
No,
on a
you're not.
sleep aid, you will
Correct.
hover in
Correct.
1 and 2.
Yeah, correct. Because you're actually suppressing the brain. That's what you're doing. Now you're not.
Yeah.
And being from a psychological point of view, what I would tell our audience, if you're having sleep problem in your life for whatever reason, whatever causing them, prior to talk to your medical practitioner, why don't you just start something natural on your own? Find out where you can make some adjustment, where you can make some changes, whether it's financial, whether it's work environment, whether it's family. Try something natural first, and if they don't work, then suddenly consult your health provider. But there is lots of things you can do naturally that will work very great, improving your quality of your sleep without going to the route of science and chemical inducement. But if you must, then do what you must do. But you just need to know there's a lot of things you can do naturally, very basic things you can do. Of course, there's a term we use, consistency it's a must. You don't want to do something once in a while, it's not going to work. You have to be
Yep.
consistent, and then you start to see the payoff. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
All right, Eddie. Thank you. I appreciate you giving me some more of your time once again, and the
Always.
whole
Yes.
knowledge that you always bring with you is always much appreciated. This has been Conversation for the Curious Mind. Thank you for listening. And just to remind you, this is a production of InSearch Innovation. Thank you for listening, guys, and may the conversation continue. Until next time.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Eddie.